to ask us to stop what we were doing and cooperate on an independent review of our work, particularly when I, only upon pressing them, found out they were being paid to do it by the Church of Scientology. So they wanted us to participate in a study of our work paid for by the subjects of our work. It seemed odd at best. So we ultimately declined to participate.
So do you think this decision, their decision to do this, undermines their status as journalists because of where they received the money from?
I can't really speak to how they see it. Those who deal with journalism in general, and certainly investigative journalism, I think would find it, as I said, odd, even peculiar, to think that that they should be encouraging us to stop what we're doing, participate in a review of the work, in a situation where there's clearly a conflict of interest. They called it an independent review when they approached me about it, yet they were being paid to do it by the subjects of the stories, so it didn't seem independent. I told them then, I've told them throughout the entire time that they requested it, our work speaks for itself. We're subjected to an independent review every day by the readers of the St. Pete Times and our website, tampabay.com. All our work was on the record. We put even more of our reporting online so everybody could see it. So we're pretty comfortable that the work is being reviewed every day, and it speaks for itself. We just thought it was odd that these guys had basically been paid by the subjects of the review, by the subjects of the work to do the review.
The Church of Scientology hasn't released the report and hasn't said whether they will or not. But Scientology spokesman Tommy Davis told the Washington Post that the report was, quote, highly critical of the Times stories on the church. What's your reaction to that?
Well, the church has told us themselves that they are highly critical of the work that we've done. We believe the work is fair, is accurate. All our sources are on the record. There's no anonymous sources. There's no secret quotations of any kind, and so the work is laid out there. The church has informed us, and we've published extensive response from the church as part of the work, and as letters to the editor and commentary. In fact, our work has extensive commentary from the church about our findings. It takes issue with those findings. That's understandable. I have no quarrel with that. But the journalists who were doing this quote-unquote independent review sent us an email saying we have found major deficiencies. They gave us some general categories, and those deficiencies mimicked almost to the letter, the exact deficiencies that the Church of Scientology found. So, or has said it finds with the work. So it goes back to the question: is it an independent review? We ultimately are accountable to the readers of the St. Pete Times, and we'll let them judge for themselves.
So if they're not going to release what their review was about, can you give us a sense of what they were trying to get at?
Well, I've not seen their review at all, and I don't know whether they're going to release it or not. It doesn't really make much difference to me. Again, I think there's a conflict there. Anytime the church takes issue with any of our work, we provide them ample opportunity, either in the work itself or through letters to the editor, to provide what they see as objectionable, and let the readers decide for themselves. But I've not seen the study that they're referring to, and we declined to participate in it, as you know.
You declined because of the source of the funding. But if they're willing to disclose where the money came from, everyone knows that it came from the Church of Scientology. Why not answer their questions? Why not get it all out there?
Well, let me mention a couple things. One, we asked very specifically when they approached us, again, first approaching us, not saying who they were working for. When we ultimately pressed them and they acknowledged it was the church, we asked them to disclose, well, how much are you being paid and what are the terms of your arrangement with the Church of Scientology? And they have refused to share that with us. So I think that there's a lack of disclosure and transparency that kind of makes the entire process a little bit flawed. Secondarily, again, our work is being reviewed every day in our pages and on our website. And at some point, probably well down the road, maybe a credible journalism organization like CJR or which is Columbia Journalism Review, or the American Journalism Review, may want to study the work, and they're entitled to do it. But for us to stop what we're doing and participate in a study performed by essentially by the folks we're investigating doesn't make a lot of sense. I'll say one other thing which is relevant to your question. The church has hired no less than 3 law firms to represent them and to take objection to our work. And they have at various points threatened litigation against us for performing this kind of journalism. Again, we believe our work is fair, accurate, and the church is within its rights to pursue whatever course they like. But when you've been threatened with lawsuits, it doesn't make sense to start to have a conversation with the subjects who are threatening you about the work. So we ultimately just simply had to say this isn't really an independent, objective review, and we've got a lot of journalism left to do, and we're going to go forward with it.
Well, and that leads me to my last question. Why is your coverage of Scientology, why is that issue to you, the newspaper, so important? It's a private organization or religion, depending on your point of view, and why does the newspaper feel the need to investigate it with the same zeal as other newspapers often investigate government?
Well, I think there's a number of ways to look at that. First of all, certainly the Church of Scientology is a major institution worldwide, and also very specifically here in Clearwater, which is home to the spiritual headquarters of the church. Second of all, it considers itself a mainstream, increasingly a mainstream religion, and religious institutions are always open to and usually welcome scrutiny. The Catholic Church is been scrutinized quite a lot in recent years, and I think in many cases has helped with that scrutiny as a way to be accountable to the public. Just to use one example, religious institutions are not by any means above scrutiny, and I think most religious institutions welcome it. I'd also point out that the church, as well as most religious institutions, derive pretty substantial tax benefit by virtue of their status. The Church of Scientology received a tax exemption from the IRS in the early 90s, and continues to gain a lot of benefit. So I don't believe religious institutions by any means are not accountable to the public or to the taxpayer, and I believe most institutions would agree with me on that. So this seems to be what journalism is often and always been about and needs to be about, is holding powerful institutions accountable. That's what we're doing. And most institutions understand that and welcome it, and so we'll continue to do that.
Neil, is there anything I forgot to ask you wanted to make sure it got said?
I think you covered it, Scott.
All right. Neil Brown, Executive Editor of the St. Petersburg Times, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
You bet, Scott. Thanks a lot for having me.
Take care. Bye.
My name is Steve Weinberg. I'm a freelance writer.
Obviously, there's been a long-going, I don't know, battle's the fair word. There's a lot of coverage over the last 30 years by the St. Pete Times of Scientology, and Scientology has fought back, obviously. When you received the call about this, what was your reaction?
Well, I just received a request from 2 veteran investigative reporters I've known for a long time, just known them professionally, not, any other way. And they asked if I would be interested in editing a study they had agreed to do about St. Pete Times coverage of the Scientologists, and that